Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Everything is Fine, Nothing is Ruined podcast. I'm your host this week, Hassan. Joining me, as always, Tristan.
Hey, that's me, the guy who was Tristan.
And this week, we're continuing Tristan's journey, rewatching all the Simpsons. We're now several seasons in, and folks, I think it's time we answer the most important question when it comes to being a fan of any piece of media.
A lot of questions.
A question that goes across every form of entertainment, live action, animation, TV, movies, what have you. And that is, it's finally time for us to answer the which blank member are you BuzzFeed quiz.
Do we have to?
Yes, we have to, Tristan. So,
oh God, okay.
Your first question here is,
yes, all right, lay it on me.
What's been your greatest achievement in life? Handling challenges,
right?
Securing awards, maintaining a happy family, pursuit of knowledge, following your bliss.
Following my bliss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second question. What describes you best? The ultimate realist, ready to try anything once.
Okay, yeah.
An inspiration to others. A natural leader. A huge sense of duty.
Inspirational to others. I like to think I inspire people to be better.
Okay.
Listener, please. Don't say it.
What's your greatest fear? Fear of time.
Okay, yeah.
Fear of failure.
Okay, that's a big one. Sure.
Fear of being judged.
Time failure. Judged,
Fear of who you really are.
Okay.
And fear of loss.
What was the second one again? Fear of
failure. So fear of time, failure, being judged, who you really are.
Let's go failure. Fear of failure.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your hobby? Blogging, traveling, sports, music, reading.
I mean, I guess I do a lot of reading, so reading.
Lastly, what's your biggest regret? Working too much, not spending enough time with family, worrying too much, taking life too seriously, not following your passion.
Working too much.
I literally knew it was going to give you this answer. It says, you're Lisa Simpson. Brilliant and inquisitive.
Well,
you're wise beyond your years. The world can be a cruel place, but you're always searching for ways to make it better. You have a special talent in problem solving.
Damn, that actually does accurately describe my entire shtick. Everything about me is Lisa Simpson. Frig!
I literally knew it was going to be like, it's going to be you pick like two things that it would be like, oh, this is kind of nerdy. You're a Lisa.
Yeah. I chose reading, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm either Homer or Lisa. Yeah.
I mean, it's 5 questions with 5 options. It's like, okay, this is not exactly going to be a deep one where it's going to end up being like, oh, you're, even some like one-off character, like you're Artie Ziff, who showed up in like 2 episodes. It's not going to be that deep.
They should load that up with like the entire pantheon of Simpsons.
If they had every single one, that would be great.
Yeah.
It's like, you're Bumblebee Man. It's like, what? How does that even make sense?
Oh, me gusta. Yeah, so I guess we're here to talk about The Simpsons again.
We are, Lisa.
Are you ready for that, Hassan?
The Simpsons?
It is. Yeah, it's
I think
season 5 and 6. So yeah. Season 5 and 6.
So that puts us at 1993.
Yeah. Like last time, we'll be going from best to worst, and then you will also give me an episode you want to talk about. I have a couple of other episodes that I would personally like to talk about as well. but we'll get there. So, as is the usual, there's a way that we do the ratings here. We got a bunch of social things that we go through. For the judgment, it's comedy, story, fun, family, and X Factor. Now, you don't always have to adhere to those. That's why, if you give each one 2 points, you'll get them out with a perfect 10. But certain things will get more points than other ones. That's just how it's going to be. Because, not every episode is built the same way. So, season 5. Right now, at this point in The Simpsons, we are entering what is regarded as the truest instance of the golden age of The Simpsons.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, to start off, do you want to guess what score I gave season 5? Or should I say, the score it earned, because that is more appropriate.
8.6.
Ooh. Too high, actually.
Okay. All right.
7.5. 7.5 for season 5.
Still good.
Which is really good. I gotta say, after doing this scoring, and I just to kind of pull the curtain back, everybody, I'm on season 14 currently in the rewatch.
Yep. 2003 would be, right?
Yeah, I believe so. That 7.5 is really high. Let's just put it that way.
Great.
Yeah. All right. So 7.5 for season 5, which I think is really good. Season 5 is excellent. Is a great season. You cannot go wrong with season 5. There's some amazing episodes. And as always, there's one standout kind of stinker. But this one starts off with a 2 10s out of 10 for this season.
Okay, all right.
Which we've season 4 had, I just think 1. Yeah, season 4 had the first 10 out of 10, which is season 4 had 2 as well, which is Homer's Triple Bypass and Last Exit to Springfield.
Okay.
Yeah. Season 5, you have, right out the bat, the 2 10s, which is Homer's Barbershop Quartet.
Yep.
Classic. And Cape Fear.
D-Bart D.
D-Bart D. Can you guess which one I chose as, I think, the best episode of this season?
That's tough. I will say, for me, my preference is Cape Fear's. Mostly because a lot of the Sideshow Bob humor speaks to me, like the D-Bart D joke. Also, I'm just a very big fan of HMS Pinafore as a musical. So
great musical.
The fact that comes up in this, I love it. But I think I would probably say Homer's Barbershop Quartet, just because it's a little bit more of a character piece.
That's true. Which is really good. Homer's Barbershop Quartet is 100% the first instance of a really good musical episode. Not the last one, but the first one for sure. The first big banger is here with Baby on Board. Everybody knows Baby on Board. However, my actual choice is Cape Fear.
Okay.
Because there are several reasons. The ones you just said as well. And also, this is the first and last... Well, I guess not the first. This is the last good Sideshow Bob episode.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That he becomes way more of a slapstick gag character after this,
cartoon character, right? Yeah. There are some good bits with Sideshow Bob later on in the series. However, I have to say, it's never as good as Cape Fear. They even, at one point in season 13, I think, bring back the rake gag in Cape Fear. And it's just it definitely doesn't... He steps on a rake and hits him in the face. And he's like, oh, my nemesis. And Bart's like, you mean me, right? He's like, no, No, it's the rake. And it's just like, oh, it's so bad. It's so, oh God. So it goes right down. So Cape Fear, though, is truly magnificent as an episode. The HMS Pinafore is amazing. The plotline is great. The fact that they sing so many songs in this episode is wonderful. The D Bart D thing. The Bart, do you want to see my new cheese on hockey mask? is really good. Like that repeat joke.
That's his from, isn't it?
And there are some amazing lines, like, it's also illegal to put squirrels down your pants for the purposes of gambling. Or he called me Chief Pig'em. Stuff like that. Or, oh no, Dad's been drugged! No, he hasn't. It's fucking wonderful lines.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Dad's just an alcoholic.
Or, very well, Bart, I will send you to heaven before I send you to hell. What a wonderful line. Just, ooh, yeah. There are some good standout lines in this episode. Great gags. Great, like, pratfalls from Sideshow Bob. Cape Fear is truly a masterpiece of an episode, and it is a shame that we do not get later on more good Sideshow Bob episodes like this one.
Yeah, I think
there are some okay ones.
Understandable in a lot of ways, though, because like, after this, how do you still make him this scary murderer, right?
Yeah.
You've kind of shown repeatedly at this point that, hey, he's kind of incompetent and gullible. And so there's only so many times you can make that scary before it does become what he ultimately becomes, of a joke character.
This is true. And here's the thing. Like, after this, he does try and become the mayor of Springfield to then destroy Springfield. And then later on, he gets out of prison and joins up with his brother Cecil Terwilliger, who is played by the guy who plays Nigel and
David Hyde Pierce, thank you.
David Hyde Pierce, thank you. Yes, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and then he's actually framed for being an accomplice to destroy the town again, but he actually saved the town. It's a whole thing. Yeah, so there are good Sideshow Bob episodes. I think this is the last best one, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the episode count, and to me, I'm already looking at it going like, man,
yeah,
this already feels like, because Cape Fear is episode 83.
Yep.
It's like, oh, it makes sense. 5 seasons in, around 20 episodes a season.
Yeah.
But man, it makes me realize, like, yeah, this show's been going way too long.
Quite so.
It's no One Piece, but it's been going too long. This
is true. So, the worst episode of the season. Looking at the episode list, do you have any guesses? Because, like, there's...
So, Marge on the Lamb, in my head, is not a particularly great episode. So, that's a contender.
Mm-hmm, sure. That's all right.
I might say Homer the Vigilante. I could see that being kind of low. Oh God, there's an episode with James Woods. I mean, at the time he was fine, but boy, in retrospect, whew.
Oh, okay. To be fair to that episode, yeah, James Woods is in that episode, but that is the one where Apu gets adopted into the family.
Yeah,
and they go to the first Quickie Mart in India.
Yeah, that's the Who Needs the Quickie Mart episode, right? Yeah,
one of the best songs in the series.
I'm saying, I'm sure it's a fine episode, but boy, in retrospect, James Woods, huh?
Doesn't do a bad job. It's actually much better than you think it is. As long as you would kind of ignore the stuff that James Woods says and believes in his regular day, I think you're fine with that one. I gave that one a 9 out of 10, actually. No.
Okay.
The worst episode of the season, in my opinion, is Lady Bouvier's Lover. Which is an Abe Simpson-centric episode.
I was also looking at that one because it was at the very bottom, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna see a pattern with this season. This series of The Simpsons overall. Abe Simpson cannot carry an episode.
Yeah, he
has got some ups and downs, but he's a way better side character. Way better.
He's definitely a character that lacks. He lacks complexity, is how I would put it. Right, his whole thing is just he was a kind of angry, bad father, and now he's just a forgetful, elderly, rambling grandparent, and there's just not a great complexity to him to make him interesting.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Yeah, so there's that. It's also just kind of a lame episode anyway. It's about essentially Abe Simpson falling in love with Marge's mom, Jacqueline Bouvier. And honestly, it just does not carry. It's then Mr. Burns cuts in to the relationship and like tries to marry Jacqueline. And then it's the whole thing where nobody gets what they want and nothing really changes. And that's kind of the point of The Simpsons, that they all hit status quo. It's lame. It's just a lame episode. There aren't really any good jokes in there. And
I'm also realizing Homer's dad can't be that old, so it's weird how he is written.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Because I think Homer's only supposed to be in his mid to like late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So you go, well, if his dad's about the same at most, his dad's like 65 to like 68 or something. And
yeah, exactly.
Realistically, probably younger. You start going, well, it's a little weird how he's written. I get it, it's a cartoon, but it's just it's making me realize of like, wow, I'm a little weird for how old he's supposed to be. Like, if he was, supposed to be Mr. Burns, 90, 100 years old, you go, oh yeah, this character makes sense, but for his age, a little weird.
Yeah, a little weird. I really agree. It's whatever. But the thing is, Abe Simpson episodes just can't stand on their own for some reason. I've tried to like these episodes. There is one where he does okay, but he has Bart as like a side character, which is the flying hellfish episode, and like that's later on in the series, and that one's all right. But like again, you have other characters kind of bounce off of, and of course in this one he does as well. But it's Mr. Burns, and then Jacqueline Bouvier, Marge's mom, who we don't know sweet diddly fuck all about. Diddly. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, well, that's good.
It's basically a non-starter, and I just, yeah, it's too bad. But we can't win them all. To be fair with this season, though, it is mostly good. Even this episode, I gave a 5 out of 10, which means it is just a mediocre mid-episode. It's boring at best.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it's not a wretchedly bad episode or anything. So what episode do you want to talk about, Hassan?
Man, it's funny. I'm looking at this list of episodes, and it sure does feel like the later half of this season is a lot of relying on a singular gag episode, like Deep Space Homer, Bart gets an elephant, like just a lot of weird ones. I'm gonna go with, just because I recall it being a good episode, Boy Scouts and the Hood.
Boy Scouts and the Hood,
which is the one where Bart and Milhouse find $20 that they basically just trip drugs on squishies.
And squishies, yes. Yeah, that one's really good. That one's that one I like a lot. So Boy Scouts and the Hood is a 7 out of 10 for me. It kind of hits the later season problem, later series problem, I should say, where it kind of has a non-ending, but it's kind of forgivable for this episode because there is a lot of episode here anyway. And like, yeah, I think this is a good one. And I think the setup is a lot of fun. The premise is good. The story is good. Having Homer like be foiled by Ned Flanders and vice versa, I think that's a great dynamic. I love seeing that. What makes this one you want to talk about though?
So a couple things. So first off, it's seeing the start of like the description of it. I'm looking at Wikipedia, where it's just Bart and Milhouse fined $20, and sitting here going, man,
what?
It's kind of crazy that hey, I was alive at a time where $20 would have felt like a lot. Whereas now it's like, man, for two kids. We don't have 7-Elevens, which is clearly what the Quickie Mart's supposed to be. But if I think about similar gas stations, whether it's an Esso, a Needs, or even like a Shoppers or something, I sit here and go like, okay, two kids. It's like, you probably could still get like a hot dog each, a slushie each. And maybe like a chocolate bar. That would be about it, right? Like dollar-wise, you definitely wouldn't get a lot. And in particular, it's evocative of something I saw recently, which was somebody saying how they think one of the biggest shames currently for YA novels is that they're no longer priced for young adults, for teens, for kids, that they see kids coming into the bookstore they work at with a $20 bill, and then they can't get the latest copy of whatever book series that they're excited. Oh man, the newest I'm just referencing it because the TV shows come out, but it's like, oh, the newest Percy Jackson book is out. I gotta go get that. It's like it costs more than a $20 bill, and that's the thing that most parents will like give to their kids. So I think it's this like. I love the beautiful idea of that, right? A kid finds $20, and that's just like
and goes on a bender.
Oh, yeah, like
it's a squishy, gets a bunch of candy. They go to like a department store, all this stuff. They're doing a lot for $20.
And it's not just that it's $20, but it's that thing of it does a good job of encapsulating that youthful innocence when your parents could give you this money and it felt like, there was so much you could do. Your parents give you whatever it was, $20. Hey, go spend an hour at the arcade. You're like, I could do so many things at this arcade now because I have $20, in my case, growing up, it was the arcade was at the local mall. So my parents were going off to do a bunch of stuff. It was just like, this should last you quite a while, as opposed to if we weren't there for something long, I would just be spending my own personal money. So, I'd get to play one or two games. And I think this episode, it does a good job with that bender. I think the rest of the part of it around the Boy Scout part is actually not as good, but that the actual, they get the $20, they go on their squishy bender. It's stuck with me. It's one of those moments that even if the rest of the episode I don't remember, that moment is just
burn in the mind.
Really well done to me. It just, again, feels like it captures that youthful innocence and excitement of the possibilities of that.
I agree with that. It does a really good job of that specific part. The Boy Scouts part, you're right, is actually the weaker side of it, even though that is actually the bulk of the episode. The whole thing is about like Bart trying to get his pocket knife, really wants that, so he stays in the Boy Scouts. He joined them up during the bender, all this stuff. I believe Milhouse becomes a pirate. Like joins like a Somali pirate.
Okay.
No, sorry, that's Barney. That's Barney. Barney is like is on a pirate ship because he joins the bender as well.
Okay.
God, Barney gets the worst in all this season. He actually eventually goes to AA and stuff and gets clean. Yeah.
Yep, I remember that.
Like in like season 8, I think it is, or 8 or 9, maybe 10. And then like it's always a fight between him and relapsing. It's wild. So you had two different versions of Barney. You have like drunk ass Barney who appears sometimes, but then with like the messy hair and everything. And then you have like cleaned up Barney with like a slick back haircut, and it gets weird. Yeah, I can't remember what happens to Milhouse in that one. That's kind of
it's Milhouse. Who cares?
Yeah, he's a wiener kid anyway. Yeah, that's basically season 5. I do want to point out, season 5 has my former favorite Simpsons line, which I can't actually, I can't reconcile anymore because like, so it used to be in Bart Gets an Elephant. There's a scene where, like when they drop Stampy off at the elephant reservation, Homer goes, "All right, well, here's the keys," and the conservationist is like, "Well, elephants don't have keys," and then he says, "Well, I'll just keep these then." And that's a fine line. I don't know why that tickled my funny bone for so long, but watching it again, I realized like that's not that funny. For some reason, that hit me real hard when I first saw it as a kid and stayed with me for like a long time. As an adult, seeing that line, I was like, not as good as it could have been.
Yeah, it's fair. Right? Things just change or they just hit differently.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, season 5, 7.5 out of 10. Really good season. Fantastic. You cannot go wrong. Now here comes the real meaty season, Hassan. Ooh, it's meaty. Season 6.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
So yeah, you got 1, 2, 3. You got 4. You got 5. You got 6 10 out of 10s in this season.
Wow.
Yeah. 8.32 is the total score. Yeah.
It's a good season.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is not even the highest rated season I've watched so far. And people cite season 6 as like the best season.
All right. Well, this time, why don't we start with, even though we're talking about the best, what's the worst episode in this season then, since it's so high?
Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. This season's really fantastic. Truly a standout season. And the only thing that drags it down, and it's so unfortunate, is that in episode 3, they have the gall in episode 3 to give you a clip show. Another Simpsons clip show is what that episode is called. It is a 3 out of 10.
Wait, is it actually just them using clips of past episodes?
Yes.
Wow. Do they at least lean into it in an interesting way? Because I personally think the all-time greatest clip show episode is from Clerks the Animated Series. Because it's the second episode of this series. So they just constantly are reusing clips from episode 1 and 2. They just keep re-referencing their own things and retelling it in different ways. It's like, okay, this is pretty good. It's a really dumb good joke.
Yeah,
but this is literally just them reusing clips as they were.
Now, they had done clip shows in the past. We had discussed those. I have a rule where if you do a clip show, it is an automatic 3 unless you can impress me with the clip show. Sometimes a clip show has a good plot line. Sometimes a clip show has, it has a good focus. Like there is the all singing, all dancing one later on in the series. That one actually ends up being a little higher just because, hey, this could have been worse. This is still a clip show. This is one of the worst clip shows of all time.
I'm upset that it's episode 3, because at least if it was in the middle, I could make jokes about like, wow, that's some real like peak 2008 to 2015 anime of like, well, it goes literally, you could reverse these orders, but it would always be back to back. Hey, here's the fan service beach episode. Here's the rehash clip episode.
Yeah, basically. So here's the thing. I'll point out this right now. This is not even the worst clip show I've watched, but it is a clip show that is so bad that the main writer, John Vitti, took his name off of it and replaced it with Pennywise. His name, as credited, is Pennywise. And so here's the premise of this clip show. This one's all about love. So it's basically Marge having a breakfast talk with the kids and Homer about love being everywhere, and it's essentially like it's Marge trying to ignite the fires of passion in her family in a way that's family friendly and explains how love can be bad and how it can be good and the in-betweens and all this stuff. This is also the episode where she like full on admits she almost cheated on Homer with the bowling instructor. And which is a fantastic scene where she tells this story of this thing where she almost did. And she's like, "Oh, thank God I drove you in that like really highly ironic street with all the love references on it." And it just cuts to Homer, and he's just like, he didn't know she was gonna cheat on him, and he's just flabbergasted. He's like, "Marge, I demand you stop seeing this bowling instructor. You can let him down easy. Maybe give him a week or two." And she's like, "Yeah, sure, Homer." It's like that's like the one good thing they did in that episode. The rest of it is just scenes of Simpsons characters who are presenting their love to each other. It is lame as hell. I don't know why they did this one. It's whatever. It's whatever.
Alrighty. Yeah, I don't think there's really much you can say about it, right? It's a lame clip show.
Yeah.
That doesn't add anything.
Again, the only thing... Okay, I need to point out something I'm going to do after the great rewatch is done. I do want to go back and watch all the worst episodes and all the best episodes, not at the same time, and just do like episodes of like what the actual greatest is and what the actual worst is. I will point out there's a clip show that's so heinous. It got a 1 out of 10 in season 13. So, just an FYI, it gets worse from there.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I don't want to just be too flippant about it, but it's a little bit weird that they have the clip shows, because typically clip shows are there for padding.
Yep.
The Simpsons doesn't need that. Not at this point.
No.
This is season 6.
Yeah.
This is literally the last episode of the season. Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 1.
Yes.
This is probably the peak of Simpsons popularity.
Yeah.
I don't want to say like they have money, they could just afford more animators, because there's a difference between the people making The Simpsons and Fox, who is really right. So like, I don't want to go there, but it's very weird to me that they needed this filler episode at all when the show is so popular. It just...
The thing is, like, it's there to give the writers and animators a break, so it kind of makes sense. Like, it's good they exist in a way for those reasons, but you don't need them. They could have just said, "Hey, write one less episode." But the way the networks go, they order a certain amount of episodes, and they go like, "Yep, we want 25 episodes. Give us that." And it's like, you'll get 24 good episodes, and then 25 is going to be a clip show. Like, that's how it just happens sometimes, unfortunately, with network TV. But you're right, they don't really need this. They could have hired new writers or more writers or more animators or whatever they needed to do, and put out a decent episode, as opposed to let's have a clip show that John Vitti writes, who takes his name off of the fucking episode, because it is that bad.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so next, because I want to end on the high note of what you think the best episodes of this season.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm hoping that the episode I want to talk about is not the same.
Okay.
Which the one I want to talk about is Round Springfield.
It is not then.
Okay.
Yeah, Around Springfield. What episode is that? There's a
22. That is Bleeding Gums
really?
Murphy.
This is the one we talk about? Okay, sure. Okay, yeah, okay.
I think this episode is really good.
It is really good, yeah.
Just being one of those two spectrums of the emotion that this show doesn't always have. So the first one being, so for anyone who doesn't know, even though I would say that this is, it's got to be up there amongst the iconic episodes. I wouldn't necessarily say like top 10, but I think anyone who's watched The Simpsons knows who Bleeding Gums Murphy is.
More or less, yeah. He's like the long lost character who actually people know about. Like Martin Monroe or one of those characters. So yeah.
But basic plot is Lisa meets this guy, Bleeding Gums Murphy, in the hospital.
Yeah.
Lends him his sax. He passed away. Lisa's very upset about that. Wants his album, can't afford it.
Yeah.
So we have there's one spectrum of just sorrow, really. This deep sadness over the loss of this person who ended up, even though it was only a brief interaction, meaning a lot to Lisa. And then on the other hand, we have some wacky stuff happening with Bart, where he
swallows the jagged metal crustio.
Yeah. Is that what it was called? Jagged
metal crustio. For you in every box.
Ends up getting $500 out of Krusty, which is exactly how much Lisa needs for this album. And so on the other hand, you have, this very compassionate, heartfelt, warming, familial love and bonding, even if, it's not always shown between these characters. There's like Homer literally strangling Bart is, at least early on, kind of the most iconic symbolism of The Simpsons to me, of like, if you were going to put something, if you were going to take one still from the show as the like, hey, this is the thing that they always do, it would be that. But then you have these tender moments, and I think it's one of the just truly solid episodes of The Simpsons that genuinely elicits an emotional response out of, I would assume, most people.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, this is a really good episode. I gave it an 8 out of 10, just an FYI.
Only an 8 out of 10. It's not one of the 10 out of 10s.
It is not. No. Because so we have met Bleeding Gums Murphy back in season 2 as well.
Yep.
That's where he comes from. And he has made like little side appearances here or there. And it's cool that he comes back here and then he dies right away, and like the whole thing is very touching, and Lisa giving him like the real tribute to like this artist who will just go totally unknown, as most jazz artists will, because that's just kind of how jazz is. It's not really a hugely mainstream appealing musical genre.
It's been for a long time now.
Yeah, which is like, it's a shame because jazz is amazing. It's just, it takes a very certain person to listen to it, enjoy it, and appreciate it and understand it. And it's kind of like, it's not going to be popular, even though it sounds good. Whatever. The reason why I gave it only an 8 is because there's just a couple of things that didn't really work for me. And like, it's great that Bart is there for his sister, but like some of the other stuff of like, there's a lot to do with Lisa trying to play her sax properly and not really coming across to everybody and trying to get the word about Bleeding Gums Murphy and not really having it hit home. And I don't know, it just didn't really work for me in the way that it may have worked for you.
No, I see where you're coming from, because this is, by episode count, episode 125.
Yes.
So it is that thing of like, that's a lot of episodes. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna quickly. Because I know, The Office, its entire run was only 201 episodes. So
exactly.
We are over. We are.
We're like,
was that 70% of the way towards like when other like what feels like long running series would be over.
Yes. Exactly.
But we're that far into it, but because they're the Simpsons and they can't really evolve and change, like I don't know The Office. I'm gonna guess by like The Office episode 125, a lot of the stuff of like, you know, Jim and Pam, it's like they're together by now, you know, hey, these other characters, their relationship stuff is, you know, settled in kind of thing. Simpsons were still kind of just treading the same water by this point in a way that it's a little bit like, yeah, you know, like you were saying, like, oh, Bart's there for her, but it just doesn't do that much for you. It's like, well, yeah, because you've seen it like 8 or 9 times by now.
Yeah, that's true.
And yet the next episode, this is going to reset and we just forget all about that.
Yep, status quo, baby. We're all about that status quo.
So I can totally understand, you know, that not hitting as well. I think for me, that episode hits because I've rewatched Simpsons episodes when I still was, you know, living with my parents and had cable television. But once I lost, and I probably even have rewatched it since because I still had cable television.
Yeah.
That's how old we are after I moved out of my parents' place. But it's been like over 10 years since I've seen an episode of The Simpsons. So for me, a lot of the stuff is just, I remember these episodes and the padding in between that would take away from it in that way. Those other episodes where it's like, oh, well, here's this other episode like, you know, 7 or 8 before this where Bart does a heart-touching moment for Lisa or whatever, but then it reverts. Yeah. I don't remember those as well, so I think for me, the detractors, you know, my brain has just dumped those, and it's only the high highs for me that I still remember and matter.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking of high highs, so I think that's a great episode. I think that's a good example of what. So here's the thing: like, I rated that episode an 8, and like, I will stand by that. However, I think that is I think that episode. It could have been worse. Like,
oh yeah.
If I was gonna rate this episode versus everything else in this season beyond the clip, besides the clip show, get rid of that thing. That episode would probably be more like a 9 or possibly a 10 if I was just kind of like, you know, grading on a scale basically, because there are so very few. Like, you got that 3 out of 10 for the clip show, but everything else is like 7, 8, 9, 10, 7, 6. There's like 1 6, and it's just like whatever. Like, yeah, it's mostly a crazy good season. So yeah, speaking about the high highs,
the number one. Actually, let's hear the other 10s and then the final.
I was going to say exactly that. So first things first. Lisa's rival is 10 out of 10 for me.
Is it?
Yeah, that's where you get. I bet my Wookiee. My cat's breath smells like cat food. And this is Homer the Sugar Baron, where he has like his own sugar company because he steals the sugar out of the transfer trailer that turned over, and he has that like big pile of sugar in his backyard.
Yeah, no. Now that because I saw this one initially, and I was like, I don't know if I remember that episode super well. But now that I see it's the Telltale Heart one, yeah, I can see how it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this is the one where basically Lisa like has a rivalry with Allison, with the new kid at school. Yeah, and it's really good. It's got a good storyline. The fact that Bart comes through for her in this episode as well is there, and it's in like his own devilish way. He causes, like, she asks him to prank Allison during the diorama contest, and in doing so causes a total hubbub, and like, you know. The fact of the matter is, like, nobody cared about the dioramas anyway because Ralph Wiggum wins because he had Star Wars action figures in the original packaging.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's a good one. So there's that one.
Yep.
And then skip down to and Maggie Makes 3.
Okay. Yep. I thought that was going to be a 10 out of 10. That's a good episode.
Do It For Her.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. Do It For Her is the best thing the Simpsons have done, kind of maybe ever, as far as the family stuff goes.
See that?
Yeah. The reason The real reason why I gave it a 10 out of 10, and this is really fucking stupid, is because it has my new favorite joke in all of Simpsons.
Okay.
And every time I think back about it, it's really fucking good. So, in this episode, it's a flashback episode to when Bart and Lisa were 6 and 8 respectively. And what happens here is that Homer has made enough money to pay off the mortgage of the house and all their loans and stuff, and he quits his job at the nuclear power plant and goes and becomes a schmuck at the bowling alley, just kind of like co-running it, basically, making like very small money, but this is what he's always dreamed of, quote unquote. It isn't, but you know, it's Homer.
Yeah. And
so at a certain point, Barney's uncle, who runs the bowling alley, who fires Barney for Homer, is looking to get new customers into the bowling alley. And so there's like a minute-long sequence of like Homer like studying marketing and like looking at the bowling ball and like just going, looking at things and reading up the definition of marketing and stuff and doing all this stuff to try and like bring more customers in. And then he sits forward in his chair. He's like, I got it. And then a hard cuts to him firing a rifle into the air, yelling, "Come bowl now!"
Honestly, that probably work.
And it just goes on for too long.
That's not the worst marketing strategy I've ever heard. I'll say that.
The best part is, though, it then cuts to Lisa, who, like, occasionally Homer tells bits of the story, like, embellishes on them. Because, like, at one point he makes his own head explode and this kind of stuff in the story. And Lisa's like, Mom, make Dad tell the story right. And she's like, no, he is. It's just like, oh, yeah. Just again, the fact that he's firing a rifle into the air, yelling, "Come bowl now." And everybody's fleeing and he's just fleeing in terror and just like, yeah, it's very believable. It's very Homer. That's not the only reason why it gets a 10 and 10, but it's one of the big reasons for me. Next is Bart's Comet. That's the one where where Homer predicts the comet. Like Bart sees the comet's going to happen. Then Homer predicts the comet is just going to basically burn up an atmosphere and is shrunk to the size of a chihuahua's head. That has another great line in there where, like, when they all stuff themselves into the bomb shelter and Ned Flanders has to leave his own bomb shelter. And Ned's like, yeah, makes sense. All right, Rod, you're the man of the shelter now. And he hands him a gun. And he's like, now, Rod, if Daddy tries to get back in, I want you to shoot Daddy if he tries to get back in, okay? He's like, yeah, okay, Dad. And so Ned leaves. He's just loading the gun and crying. Oh, it's very dark.
All right. Is there still one more, or is it the top?
One more.
Okay.
Well, the other one is Lemon of Troy. That's like the one we all know, where, hey, yeah, the lemon tree gets stolen. It's a part of us all. A part of us all. A part of us all. Team Discovery Channel, that kind of stuff. Yeah, wonderful episode. Great storyline. And, like, the fact that the whole town comes together at the very end to get the lemon tree back and stick it to Shelbyville. Wonderful plot line. Great story. A lot of fun. Still not the best episode, though.
So I've never thought about it until now. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Most lemon trees only live 50 years.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting. They actually go on with that tree has been there for since the dawn of time. So
yeah,
that's very funny.
It says that they can live to be over 100, but that the average is 50. So.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Weird, but all right. What's the top of the top?
Top of the top, cream of the crop, is Homer Badman. You know this one. Oh, Gummy Venus de Milo.
Okay, yeah, no, that is absolutely up there.
This is the X Factor here is off the charts. This is the first pop culture instance, the very first one of not with that attitude.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
It is. This also has the wonderful reference to the Ben Talk Show, which is a bear who had his own talk show.
Oh, yep. Which was somehow real.
Very real thing. But in this episode, oh god, this episode that joke is so layered and wonderful. I'm just gonna butcher it, but like, Super Eye Patch Wolf did it, like, talks about this one better, because like this joke is so good, because it's about this Ben talk show about a bear, like, that actually existed. This is a real talk show about a bear who would talk to like guests and that kind of stuff, and the audience. In this show, he has the mic strapped to his head, but it's also a reference to like Milo and Otis and like shit like that, where like the animal went wild and would like attack the cast members and these kinds of things. Oh man, it's such a layered joke. And the worst thing is, like, this comes up multiple times in this whole series. So yeah, it's a ooh. And it's got like one of the best lines of like when they use the X-ray camera to look into the home, and like the Simpsons are there to try and find Homer, and the Simpsons are there on the couch watching the broadcast, and then Kent focuses on like the turkey roasting in the oven. I believe that's Homer Simpson in the oven there, rotating slowly at 400 degrees.
I just really like the joke Gummy Venus de Milo.
Yeah.
It's a really good just bit of like, well, hey, how do we make this gummy important? Make it the Venus de Milo.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sure. That makes sense.
That's how you know it's a big deal. But again, the whole reason for the episode is that Homer is seen as like a horrible sexist pig, and like essentially a rapist, because he dared to, he pulled the gummy Venus de Milo off the babysitter's butt. He wasn't trying to goose her or whatever.
Which,
even though
I haven't put much thought into that. He was gonna pull a gummy off a lady's butt and still eat it.
Yes. And
just wanted to state that as a fact. You know?
Yeah, good fact. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
I mean, this episode has some stuff where you stop and you're just like, maybe the townsfolk are right about being perverts. Like the fact that it's groundskeeper Willie secretly recording people.
Rowdy Roddy Peeper.
Oh God. It's like, maybe they should put Homer up on certain charges.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like eventually that starts being more of a thing that happens. This is the one where they want him to go to jail. He makes the video that like was taken out of context, that gets spliced into a whole different contextualized thing. It's it's a wonderful episode. It's a lot of fun. It says a lot about like the state of like victim blaming and that kind of stuff as well, and like how people can rally behind a cause. It also is an episode that has just some wonderful jokes, and like the fact that groundskeeper Willie kind of comes in and saves the day as your sort of smoking gun. That one's interesting, but they're willing to just like turn on him in the second that the TV show is like Roddy Peeper. And it's like, it's a standout, fantastic episode. I honestly didn't think it was going to get a 10, because I remember this episode, but I don't remember it being that good. And then rewatching it, I turned on it right away. I was like, oh yeah, this is truly a wonderful, wonderful episode. Like the premise of like the candy, like the candy exhibition, and they have Marge like stuffing like her pockets full of like the candy, and the giant trench coat, and that bursting open during the exhibition, and then later on at home, and just a lot of fun little things happening that kind of make up for a wonderful whole, basically.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, I do just have one sort of unrelated question to any individual episode, which is just something we touched on, which is that, where you are binge watching these, and obviously it's going to be a little bit influenced, let's say, by watching multiple seasons beyond this, but by the time you were getting to these episodes, were there any points where it was starting to feel say frustrating, because you are, by the end of this season, 128 episodes in, and these characters are just static, that they just can never truly evolve. They can never truly be impacted by events of past episodes, and whether that is something like Bleeding Gum Murphy's death, or some of the another example I kind of see that people always go back and forth on is whether or not Homer is a good and kind of loving father, because you have these moments where it's like, what's the one? Maggie Makes Three?
And Maggie Makes Three, yes. Yeah.
And Maggie Makes Three, where you go, okay, Homer,
that
great sacrificing loving father, but then, people will point out, like, there are episodes
really
where...
Episode. Here's the thing about Maggie Makes Three. And Maggie Makes Three is a crazy example, because, like, when the whole time during Marge's pregnancy and Maggie Makes Three, this is a great... I'm glad you brought this up. Because the whole shtick here with the ending of the episode is Burns puts the plaque up. You're here forever. Don't forget you're here forever. And he puts the pictures up to make it look like do it for her. Problem is that in the rest of the episode, he couldn't give any less of a care that Maggie was on the way. And it's not until she's actually in his arms, she's like, "Oh, this is the greatest kid I've ever made." And it's
I mean, that's
the hell, man.
I'm thinking more like, it'll be a case of, and I'm just making up numbers, but it'd be like, oh, episode, 109, Homer will do some like noble sacrifice for like Lisa's, continuing education or enthusiasm for playing the sax, but then 20 episodes later, episode 129, he'll like shout at her to be like, Lisa, stop playing that bad music. And just, is there any frustration of that by this point where you're binge watching it, or is it still just, it's so good it's easy to overlook that, and it doesn't drag it down yet?
It doesn't drag it down just yet. So by season 6, I think it's still wonderfully fresh. Like, the shtick hasn't dried up, and I'm like binge watching this ad nauseum by this point. Boom, 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 episode after episode, not stopping, taking notes as I go, that kind of thing. And it's just like, you would think this shtick would wear thin after this much time, but here's the thing: like I alluded, season 6 isn't even, in my opinion, the best season. Season 6 is third best, I believe.
Okay.
In my rankings, I think it might be actually be a tie with something else actually, so it could be like third, fourth kind of thing. No, we'll get there next episode, actually. So here's the thing: by this point, season 6, I can see how it could wear thin. The whole premise of The Simpsons, the family comedy thing with wacky hijinks and adventures, I can see how that could wear thin. However, by this point, it's not so bad. Like, they've done their thing. They're still doing it. You want to see more. The writers are on top of their game. They know what's happening, how to make you laugh, how to keep you hooked into each episode. They're going for it. Each episode's a banger, with one exception. And it's just like, they're not doing any wrong. Like, they can't do bad in season 6. We'll get there, but in season 7 it peters off a little bit, but not by a lot.
But later episodes, those frustrations are there. It sounds like that eventually does become that thing of like, oh, cool, here's another episode of Homer supporting Lisa for her sax stuff. I've seen that 3 times now, and he keeps going back to then insulting her music.
Now, it's less that. I'll spoil some stuff right now, where I'm at in season 14. It's less that, and it's more so the writing just doesn't. It doesn't. They just didn't write anything.
Hey, I'm gonna say I think most Scripted television should not go on for 14 seasons.
Yeah, 14 seasons would have been a great stopping point, to be honest.
I think it should be less than that.
I think so too. Like The Simpsons, so yeah, I mean we'll get there, but where I am at, The Simpsons kind of peaks at like, small spoiler, I guess. The peak of The Simpsons is season 8.
Yeah, that makes sense, right?
We'll get there next time, but yeah, but
unless you're One Piece and you're anime and you're going on this big grand adventure, then makes sense that hey, you can't make more than a certain amount of quality content. After a while, it's just gonna wear itself thin and run out of interesting things to do.
It becomes difficult, exactly. So it's at a certain point, it just lets itself die. And, when you have a show that is on life support and most of the family wants to let it go, but the more richer, more powerful side of the family says, no. We gotta ride this coma patient, our family member, into the afterlife and just keep on going. It, yeah.
Alrighty. Well, on that note, any last things actually you want to say before we do wrap it up?
No, I will just say that next episode's going to be a great one. I don't know how much I'll have positive attitude in the coming episodes after the next one.
Alrighty. Well, on that, much like the ending of season 6, on that ominous cliffhanger,
extremely ominous. Oh yeah. Who shot Mr. Oh yeah. Did you find out who shot Mr. Burns?
No. I've got a bet, and we're gonna find out next season.
Okay, so who do you bet shot Mr. Burns?
Smithers. It's the plot twist you didn't see coming.
It makes the most sense. It makes the most sense to have Smithers shoot Mr. Burns. God.
They actually had gambling on that.
They did actually.
Which is wild to me. Of like, it's a scripted show. What are you idiots doing? What bookie is allowing that? That's so right for somebody insider information. It's like betting on wrestling. What kind of idiot bookie does this?
Just quickly about that. So they had that in like the actual like outside of the show runners and stuff like that. But there was actually gambling inside of the actual studio on who actually shot Mr. Burns because they had.
But that's funny, yeah.
That's funny, but they had done a few different like resolutions, so it could have been anybody.
Anybody, sure. No, that's funny. Externally, that's insane. Who does that?
Externally, that's insane. Internally, it's kind of like, well, we did do like 5 different endings. Which one are they choosing? It could have been anybody. Because
they should have just done Clue the movie where they just play not the actual in theater screenings, but the home release where they just do was it back to back to back? Yeah.
Clue the movie's a masterpiece in doing that specific thing.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with that movie.
It's a good movie. All right. We should end it here.
Yes.
Go to our Twitter, which is at EAFNAR. Tell us how much you love season 5 and 6. Look, I probably didn't like your favorite episode as much as you did. Let me know about that because, look, these are 2 amazing seasons. You can't go wrong with either one, but I probably ranked your thing a little lower. After this, I will, of course, post the rankings that I gave everything, sans the notes. So tune in for that, probably when this goes up. So you'll get that fun little side thing. You should go to our iTunes, Spotify, wherever you catch pods. Use your podcatcher and catch this pod. And listen to our show, share it with your friends, go to YouTube and do the button mashy thing. Just slap the keyboard until you've liked and subscribed. I like to basically just plug in a Logitech controller and just like mash all the buttons until something happens on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Let's do that.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Especially with Logitech. You should, yeah. You should also go to our friends at djdane.com. This guy does music. That's djdane.com. Go there, listen to his great tunes, and just, I don't know, get him to give you an elephant. If he doesn't give it to you, you march on over to his home and you go, "Where's my elephant? Where's my elephant?"
Just be clear.
Yeah.
This is open worldwide?
I'm assuming.
Because so even though he's in Canada,
Yes.
if the listeners say in like Chile, he needs to figure out while he's in Canada how to somehow get an elephant to someone in Chile.
I'll say why not.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure it's clear to anybody in the world that
Well,
they
he
can.
doesn't want to be liable for false advertising.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Give you that.
Well, it's that or $1 million or like $10,000 or whatever.
Yeah, elephant's probably easier.
Yeah. So, that's it for our show. Tune in next time for another Eclogue episode of Everything is Fine, Everything is Ruined. See ya.
See.
Hey.